Welcome back to the BG MMA show, where today I will be going over my picks for the upcoming UFC fight night this weekend, Dolidze versus Hernandez. Once again, we kind of have a card that's not too good on paper, similar to last week, but hopefully we get some big moments like we were last week with the Mateusz Rebecki and Chris Duncan fight, and the Esteban Ribovics and Elvis Brenner fight. Like those two fights delivered in a massive way. So, I mean, there's always hope that this one could too. Uh, Not too many crazy exciting matchups, but a good fight can come out of nowhere, so I'll keep the optimism. So, let's get into the predictions. First fight on the card, we have Cody Brundage versus Eric McConaughey. Um, kind of a massive fall from grace here from Cody Brundage. You know, main card of UFC 300, main card, and now he is the first fight on a rather weak fight night. Either way, Cody Brundage has been kind of on a weird streak recently. That his most recent fight, he looked like he got KO'd, but that's actually got overturned to a draw now because it was a headbutt that led to it. He KO'd Julian Marquez in the fight before that, and then another draw no contest against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. So, I mean, he's taken some damage in these last three. But has one win and two draws, no contest to show for it. So I mean, all in all, he hasn't been the worst in his last three. Facing a guy, Eric McConaughey, he's coming off a loss, KO loss to Nursultan Rusaboyev. You know, I think they're honestly giving Brundage a little bit of a layup here. I think Brundage is a bit hot. I think he can find the punch that could put McConaughey out. So I think I will be going with Cody Brundage to kind of keep his spot in the UFC here. I think he lands a bomb. This fight is at light heavyweight. Um, Both guys are middleweights though typically. So I don't think that will really affect anything here. I think I'm gonna go Cody Brundage via second round KO. I think he's been riding a decent little momentum streak, so I think he can pull through and find another one here. Next fight we have Gabriela Fernandez versus Julia Stolyarenko. This is a pretty easy fight to pick on the card. Gabriela Fernandez just fought much higher levels of competition. You could see Julia's record 11-9. I mean, that's just not a competitive record, not one that I'm going to be giving any respect to. Gabriela Fernandez in her last fight actually came off of a massive win off of Wong Kong, subbed her, and Wong Kong's one of people's like favorite prospects in this women's flyweight division, and Gabriela Fernandez dropped her badly, hurt her badly, and then cinched up the sub right away. 6 of her 10 wins have come by finish, so I mean she could very well finish her, but I'm gonna go with Gabriela Fernandez via decision over Julia Stolyarenko. I mean, just not too competitive a fighter. Has been finished before. Has 4 KOLs. And she's also gotten KO'd on a Roman Dolidze card before, so I think the losses will keep piling up. So yeah. Next fight on the card we have Uros Medic versus Gilbert Urbina. Again, not really a matchup that has me all too excited. Um, Uros Medic is kind of on a win one lose one streak right now. He has a good KO in 2 fights ago over Tim Means, but again, he hasn't really fought anybody that has warranted any high level of competition. And Gilbert Urbina, kind of the same thing. He also got KO'd on the Imavov Dolidze card, actually, interestingly enough. Um, yeah, I think this will be an easy win for Uros Medic, though. I think he does have just more in the bag, has more experience in the UFC, and I think he'll find a way to get this one done. Um, I think he could actually find the punch to KO him. That's kind of how his win one lose one streaks go. He normally finds the KO, so I think he will KO Gilbert Urbina in the third round and finish with some ground and pound. Next fight on the card, another banger that we're all looking forward to: Jocelyn Edwards versus Priscilla Kachora. Um, 10 finishes and 15 wins for Jocelyn Edwards. She is the ranked fighter. She has back-to-back finishes. She KO'd Chelsea Chandler. I think she had a sub in the fight before that. Um, yeah, she Priscilla has lost in two of her fights by submission before that. So I think Jocelyn Edwards has a clear advantage on the ground. I mean, she's ranked. She's in a ranked bantamweight. So I think she'll just have more skills than Priscilla, and I think she'll just ride that out to an easy decision win. Nothing too exciting with that fight. On to the next fight of the card, we have Elijah Smith versus Toshiomo Kazama. Got a little bit of a prospect here in Elijah Smith. 22 years old. This is his second UFC fight. He's coming off of a close decision win in his debut, but he showed some signs of being a decent striker. Can mix in a little bit of grappling if he needs to. Toshiomo, on the other hand, hasn't fought in about a year, and he's coming off of a KO actually. Um, or no, he got KO'd in two of his last three fights, but he did have a sub in his last fight. But again, that was a year ago, so he hasn't been in there that frequently. Elijah Smith, young, hungry, starting to put together some fights in the UFC. I think he's only adding to the tool bag. I think he'll continue to develop his striking skills here, and I think he actually will find a KO here. Like I said, Toshiomi has two of his last three fights ended in KO, and I think Elijah Smith can put together a nice little striking attack on the feet, and kind of develop as a prospect in the bantamweight division. Show that maybe he's looking for a step up in competition after being 2-0 in the UFC, and hopefully he can put on a little bit of a flashy performance here and kind of get some eyes attracted to him. Next fight on the card, we have Julius Walker versus Rafael Cerqueira. Easiest fight to pick on the card. This is the freest Julius Walker KO that they could easily be. He had a close, very close fight with Alonzo Menafield, who's ranked light heavyweight, who gives people problems. And Rafael Cerqueira lost to Ibo Aslan, so I could pretty much just stop it right there because Ibo Aslan has not been worth anything as of late. And Rafael Cerqueira lost to him, got KO'd by him early. So I think this will just be an easy fight for Julius Walker. I think he'll be able to march him down early in the fight, first round, and find the finishing blow to drop him and finish him with ground and pound. And I think this will be the end of Rafael Cerqueira in the UFC. And I think Julius Walker might actually not be too bad in the light heavyweight division. Like I said, the loss to Menafield, it was a split decision, and he gave Menafield that all he could handle. I think it shows that he can actually stick around and maybe be a force. I think this will be a free get right fight and should be a good good bang to the card. Yeah, see big guys throwing, so that'll be good. Next fight on the card, Eric Anders versus Christian Leroy Duncan. Another very easy fight to pick for me on the card. I'm going to go Christian Leroy Duncan via decision. Christian Leroy Duncan's coming off a win versus Andre Pulyaev, and he actually is just coming off of a KO in last week's Fight Night card, so that win is only aging better. A very close, scrappy loss to Christian Leroy Duncan for one of his losses. The other one of his losses, unacceptable loss to Armin Petrosian. That can't happen, but that was a long time ago. He's had some fights to bounce back from that, so I think he'll be able to, use that skill set against those guys that he's fought, those high-level guys that he's fought, and be able to easily run through a guy like Eric Anders. Eric Anders is on a 2-fight win streak right now. However, those guys are Chris Weidman and Jamie Pickett. So those two wins have really no validity and just aren't on the level of guys like Christian Leroy Duncan or the guys that Christian Leroy Duncan has been fighting. So I think Christian Leroy Duncan will piece him up on the feet for 3 rounds and win an easy 30-27 unanimous decision. Maybe get close a couple times to getting him out of there. I think Eric Anders will show a little heart, though, and stick around for the fight. But yeah, easy Christian Leroy Duncan decision. Next fight, we have Miles Johns versus Gene Matsumoto. Miles Johns coming off of a loss to Felipe Lima in December of last year. And Gene Matsumoto also coming off of a loss, a split decision to Rob Font, where I think I saw MMA Guru say that if Gene Matsumoto's name ended in OV, the judges might score that fight a little bit differently and have him winning a nice unanimous decision. But we got nice damage based scoring for Rob Font to pull through with that win. But I think this will be a relatively easy win for Gene Matsumoto. I think he just has a much higher skill set than Miles Johns. He'll be able to grapple him, and I think Miles Johns will really have no answers for the grappling. I think there's a chance Matsumoto could work into a decision or work into a submission, but I think overall he'll just um, ride his wrestling pedigree and be able to easily just kind of take down and control Miles Johns for 3 rounds and win an easy unanimous 30-27 decision. I don't think this fight's going to be too exciting. I think Matsumoto's want to get back in the win column, and I don't think Miles Johns really posed too many threats for him. Moving on up the card, we have Andre Touchy Fili versus Christian Rodriguez. Another relatively easy fight for me to pick. I'm going with Christian Rodriguez over Touchy Fili. Touchy Fili's old. These guys are actually both coming off of losses to Melky Costa, but Melky Costa's actually been putting together a bit of a run at featherweight, so I don't think those losses are bad for either of them. I think Christian Rodriguez is just a little more versatile of a fighter, can mix in the takedowns, can mix in the striking well, keep Touchy Fili on his feet. He's beaten high level of competition in the past. He beat Austin Pash. He was coming off of a big win last week. Bulgarian. I mean, he has big wins over guys that we thought were going to be something. Andre Fili, on the other hand, had a KO loss to Dan Ige not too long ago, and the loss to Melky Costa. I think he did win the split decision over Cub Swanson, but even that was, I mean, razor thin. That could have went either way. Um, but yeah, I think Christian Rodriguez just more versatile, fought better people in these last couple fights, and younger, hungrier. Actually has something to prove a little bit. I think he just does a little bit more than Touchy Fili and wins a 29-28 close-ish decision, but one of those decisions where you know that Christian Rodriguez was the rightful winner in the end. Moving on to the next fight, we have Yasmin Lucindo versus Angela Hill. Um, Not really sure why this is this high up on this card. I guess they're kind of trying to give respect to Angela Hill. A bit of a journeywoman of the UFC, always like a win one, lose one type of person. Kind of reminds me of like a Neil Magny type of the UFC, where she'll fight kind of the up and coming contenders and either beat them or lose to them closely, and that's kind of how you know who the next contender is going to be. Um, Now, me bringing that up may make you think that I'm going to pick her because Neil Magny's coming off of a big win, but that won't be the case. I'm going with Yasmin Lucindo. I think she'll mix it up a little bit more, mix in some takedowns, control her up against the fence. Just do enough to win the fight. I don't think Angela Hill has any sort of explosion anymore, and I think Yasmin Lucindo will be able to coast to an easy decision win. Next fight, finally, for our co-main event, we have Steve Erceg versus Ode Osborne. Steve Erceg was supposed to fight a couple different people at one point. He was supposed to fight Hyun Sun Park, but he got bumped up to the main event versus Tyra. He was supposed to fight Alex Perez for a little period of time, but now that we have finally settled on Ode Osborne, and finally we get Steve Erceg fighting someone that's not either fighting for the title or going to be fighting for the title in his next couple of fights. I mean, he had an absolute gauntlet fighting Pantoja, Kai Kara France, and then Brandon Moreno. So finally, he gets a nice step back down in competition against a guy like Ode Osborne. Now, I don't know if I'm not fully decided yet if I think it's going to be a KO or a decision win for Steve Erceg. I mean, Ode Osborne's coming off of a big win in his own right, but again, it wasn't at the level of Steve Erceg's at. I think Steve Erceg will be able to, use a little bit of his length, kind of his awkwardness at with his striking, and be able to pick apart Ode Osborne. I think he is going to be cautious though, because he knows that he needs a win to kind of stay right in this division. So I think I'm going to go with Steve Erceg. dominant 30-27 decision. Maybe rocks Ode Osborne a couple times. Part of me wants to think that Steve Erceg has some sneaky power and has like some one-hitter quitter power, but his only real knockout in the UFC that has any sort of validity to it is Matt Schnell, and saying that kind of takes away any validity because Matt Schnell finds a way to get knocked out by everybody. Either way, I'm going Steve Erceg via decision over Ode Osborne in a good fight, a good get-right fight for Steve Erceg, and have him looking for somebody, in that Manel Kopp, a Suel Mobayev, that type of range again to get him closer to fighting for the belt again. And now we move on to the main event, and which is a fight that I have actually worked myself up to being pretty excited for. Actually, I used to hate Roman Dolidze with an absolute passion. He beat my guy Kevin Holland, and I just didn't like the look of him. But then after that Vettori fight, things just kind of started to change for me, and I started to have a lot of respect for Roman Dolidze. And similar things for Anthony Hernandez. I know in his fight against Roman Kopylov, I was rooting for Roman Kopylov heavily, but then once Anthony Hernandez got that win, he kind of started being a big favorite of mine in this middleweight division, and someone that I thought I was going to be hooked to forever. And he has these skills of mauling wrestling and intense energy, and he's had good wins over Brendan Allen and Roman Kopylov, like I said, and Michel Pereira. But I know he's the heavy favorite here, but I can't see a world where Roman Dolidze doesn't get this one done. I think just with his sheer size, his awkwardness, I think he can hit Fluffy with a lot more power than Fluffy can hit him with. He's dangerous with the submission game off his back, dangerous with damage off of his back. And he's maybe fought higher competition than Fluffy's fought yet, too. Fluffy's big win is Brendan Allen so far. And before that, it was the Michel Pereira fight. So, I mean, Roman Dolidze has ran through Kevin Holland, who was a good win at that time. His Nasruddin Imavov win was very close. Or Nasruddin Imavov loss was very close. He almost got finished in one of those rounds, but other than that, a couple of those rounds are a lot closer than people may have thought. And then he just came off a big win against Marvin Vettori. I think Roman Dolidze is far too awkward for someone like Fluffy Hernandez to deal with. I don't think the takedowns are gonna work as effectively as he wants them to, and I think it's gonna be hung out on the feet for a little bit longer than he may expect. And I think Roman Dolidze can actually hit him with some power. And the more I've talked about it, the more I've convinced myself that I think I got Roman Dolidze via KO, just for his sheer mass and size for the middleweight division being a little too much for Anthony Hernandez to handle. I mean, let's not forget, Roman Dolidze moved up to 205 and took down Anthony Smith too, and beat Anthony Smith with no problem. So I mean, he's got the strength, he's got the versatility, and he has a good, just a good game style and good game plan. And I think he, like, I'm genuinely confused on why these odds are so heavily favored in Anthony Hernandez. I think he's a good fighter. I think he can pose a lot of problems for a lot of middleweight fighters, but I think Roman Dolidze's awkwardness and strength will be enough to get this one done by a fourth round TKO. So I'm going to go with Roman Dolidze fourth round TKO over Anthony Hernandez, and I think after this win, he'll be looking up in the middleweight division for a big fight coming up soon. So those are my full UFC Fight Night Dolidze versus Hernandez predictions. Hopefully we get some fights that age well, like the Rimbetsky Duncan fight and the Ribovics versus Brenner fight. Can't really pinpoint any off the top of my head that would be as good as that, but fingers can be crossed. So enjoy the fights, and thank you.